Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do something a little different. This is the non-fiction book tag. This tag was created by Mike at Bibliophile Bookscape, a new channel to me. I was tagged by Joel Swagman, who I've known for quite a while. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you'll know I read a lot of fiction, but non-fiction has always been quietly there in the background, feeding my curiosity about pretty much anything. My name is Jim. This is my channel, Books, Reading and Stuff. I'm the kind of reader who will happily go down a rabbit hole about a variety of different subjects, whether that might be history or paleontology or even something like classic 1970s sports cars. So this tag felt like a perfect way to discuss why I read non-fiction, what I get out of it, and which books really stuck with me. Let's get into it with the first prompt. What originally made you interested in reading non-fiction? I've always been interested in non-fiction. As a child, I had all these Ladybird books on various topics. This was one of my favourite, the Ladybird book of motor cars, which I read many times, but there are a lot of history ones. This is a more recent one about the Vikings, but there were about kings and queens of England and all sorts of different subjects. Prompt 2. Do you read non-fiction mainly for curiosity, learning or enjoyment? Now, I'm not at university. I read for curiosity and enjoyment. Learning is just a byproduct of that. Number 3, what topic could you read endless non-fiction about? I don't talk about this much on the channel, but I collect die-cast cars and I can read about die-cast cars. Here, one book on corgi toys, one book on dinky toys. I collect die-cast cars. It's a nostalgia thing. This is one of my favourites. It's a corgi Jaguar E-Type from about 1970. Enzo Ferrari described this as the most beautiful car ever made, and he knew something about beautiful cars. Prompt 4. How do you usually discover non-fiction books? In many ways, from listening to other booktubers talking about them, to exploring my bookshop and local bookstores and finding non-fiction books that appeal. And if I'm looking for a particular topic, I'm looking in the bookshop, maybe in the history section, and something reaches out to me and I have a look at it. This is how I find non-fiction books. Prompt 5. Do you follow authors or topics when choosing non-fiction? Usually topics, but there are some authors I read a few books by, like Bill Bryson for travel writing. There's a few more Bill Bryson there. This was Down Under, about Australia. There's also A Walk in the Woods about the Appalachian Trail, and Notes from a Small Island, which I take issue with because it's about Britain, and Britain is not a small island. It's not. It's the 9th largest island in the world, the biggest island in Europe. Sorry, Bill. Prompt 6. What non-fiction book stuck with you long after reading? I would suggest this one, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, who's a neuroscientist. This emphasizes the importance of shut-eye. Having sufficient shut-eye keeps us healthier, happier. It might ward off cancer, also things like Alzheimer's. Ironically, I'm telling you about this after a poor night's sleep because I'm just recovering from a cold and I didn't sleep too well last night. You might see it in my eyes, but sleep is very important. Prompt 7. What topic have you learned the most through books? I guess history. I read a lot because I live in Georgia. I read about Stalin, of course. This is a very good book about the young Stalin before he became leader of the Soviet Union, what shaped him, what turned him into the monster he became. I read a lot about the Vikings from a very young age. I've even got a Georgian book. Well, it's translated into Georgian. This is a pop-up book about Vikings, but it's the fun. I like reading about the Vikings particularly. I like reading about different countries. I like reading about Genghis Khan, which I showed earlier. I've learnt a lot about history through reading both fiction and non-fiction. Prompt 8. What non-fiction book made you curious about something unexpected? A lot of the times when I'm reading history books like this, Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World, it made me interested in the geography for Genghis Khan, for Central Asia, Mongolia and the lands around it. So that how did Genghis Khan lead the Mongols to control such a large contiguous empire that went all the way from Korea in the east right to touching on Poland in the west? It was incredible for such a small country, and Genghis Khan's grandson Kublai Khan became emperor of China. It made me interested in the whole geography of how the Mongol hordes could spread out from Mongolia to conquer so many countries. Prompt 9. What topic would you recommend everyone explore at least once? Sleep. Sleep. It's so vital to us having happy, healthy lives. I suggest everybody read this one, actually, Why We Sleep. It gives a lot of ideas and told me a lot I didn't know about sleep and about what happens with our brains when we sleep. Prompt 10. What non-fiction book would you recommend to curious readers? I'd recommend Young Stalin. It's a very good read. It reads almost like a fiction book, a storybook. It's a very interesting character, and it shaped a lot of our 20th century and what the Soviet Union did and then dissolved. How did this young man from Georgia, he was born in Gori, he grew up in a rough neighborhood, and he went to the seminary here in Tbilisi. How did he become first this gangster and then this leader of the Soviet Union? What non-fiction book would you give to someone who says they don't like non-fiction? Well, two of the books I've touched upon, one of these, either Why We Sleep or Young Stalin, depending if they're more of a history bent or just lifestyle bent. Finally, who do I tag? I'll tag Margaret Pinard because she reads a lot of non-fiction. I'll tag Greg at None of Bibliophile Reads. And I'll tag Ros at Scallydandling about the books. But if you like the idea of this tag, please feel free to do this tag. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up. This will help with this YouTube algorithm, which I don't have any non-fiction books about. And I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.